tip.
Good afternoon. It is May 23rd, 2018. You're listening to A Little Column A, Little Column B, hosted by Will Lemonos and co-hosted by Zach Bishop. How you doing today, buddy?
What's going on? We're back, Will. We're officially back.
We're back. We're always back. I don't know why we never left. We never left. I don't know whoever started that rumor. They're crazy.
Well, we're back because last week we couldn't do the podcast because a tornado came through my town.
Yeah, I told you the East Coast is just, it's not as, the West Coast is so much more superior. We don't have any sort of risks like that, all right?
What are you talking about? You have earthquakes. Literally, the earth tries to shake you to pieces.
I've yet to experience anything like that. There was one time an earthquake happened in the middle of the night, and I didn't even wake up from it. So it couldn't have been that bad. Versus over there, I mean, how was your winter? Did you have a good winter? Let's open with that. We could talk about that, right?
Winter was great.
Is it over
yet?
yet?
I got to do all the snow stuff. Oh yeah, it's summertime.
It's summertime.
It's tornado season, I guess. I'm in Connecticut. I'm not really used to this. This is all new to me. We got to get someone from Kansas or someone out in the Midwest that can explain how this hurricane situation works, or excuse me, how this tornado situation works.
That just seems crazy to me. Anyways, I'm glad you were all right. I'm glad we were able to continue the podcast. It would have been a terrible way. It was a terrible delay. I will say that. We have a whole bunch of topics here, a lot to get to. Well, you know what? Let's talk about some of the big news that broke out last week in this legalized gambling. I think this is a huge step. This is going to change everything. Everything's going to change from this. And I think more and more details are leaking out on how this is going to play out. But what's your latest take on this gambling being legalized? Is it federally or is it by state? What exactly are the rule changes?
So what happened is the federal government came in, and it was the wording was goofy because it wasn't prohibited, but it was kind of like you can't do this. You can't have gambling. So Nevada was grandfathered in from somehow. Don't really know the history too well on that. But so this basically reverses that previous ruling that said you can't have any sort of gambling. So it doesn't mean you could just start gambling willy-nilly. You got to wait for your state to get pass whatever law, however they're going to do it. So New Jersey has been pushing for this for a while. So they're the front runner, or the expected people to have this all their ducks in a row. But I'm not sure how it's going to work from the league's perspectives, because if each state is a little different, it just seems like it's going to be chaos.
It will be chaos for a little bit, but that's kind of how all change is. All change starts off a little bit wild like that. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It's just gonna take a little bit of adjustment. Change is not easy. It's a difficult thing. But the changes that are going to happen are going to be drastic. I'm really excited to. Are you excited to put some bets down at a game? I think that sounds awesome. That sounds great. One of my favorite things to do in Vegas was sports betting. And it's kind of a cool thing that you can only do it there. But once you open this door, I think that's a big attraction. That's a huge appeal. Obviously,
especially for a casual fan of you and me, we have our team. Patriots are playing. Okay, Sunday 1:00. Okay, I want to watch that. I have a vested interest. I've been reading the articles. I've been listening to the podcasts. I've been watching the videos, whatever it is. But if I were to go to a soccer game, I could care less. But now I'm not talking about putting crazy money down. But now all of a sudden it's like $20 is on something. Like, okay, now I can kind of maybe get into this a little bit. So I think that it's definitely going to help with the casual fan. I think that it's something that's pretty much already happening. I think it's an open secret that people are already gambling through offshore sports books, through old-fashioned bookies, and so that's kind of been some of the funny Twitter jokes that I've seen have just been, "Wow, can't wait to make my first ever bet." Wink, wink.
Yes, your first time. Hey, I'm not super familiar with all the topics here, but do you know what this does for daily fantasy? Because I know that was a big deal in New York and all across the country of whether or not they were going to allow that. There was obviously some collusion and some little drama around that. Does this change anything with daily fantasy?
it definitely helps them out. I think some of this is separate of the collusion where there were some issues with DraftKings employees playing on FanDuel and vice versa, being able to look through the numbers and figure out, hey, this is the best way to attack this, which they've kind of. I just at least I haven't heard it in the news so much, so I'm assuming that it's not as big a deal anymore. I don't really play the daily fantasy partially because of that reason of well, it just seems like if you have the information, you just have a huge advantage, which I guess might be the same for all gambling, but I think it definitely helps them out and it's going to make that more mainstream even more than it is now.
And the amount of money that is collecting already is surprising to me. But it's everything you just said. It's you put money on a team, you put a bet on a player or your fantasy team or whatever, and suddenly you have a very, very invested interest, a literal invested interest in this game. And I think legalizing all this and allowing states to control or however it goes or whatever the rule change is right now, giving everyone the opportunity to gamble within stadiums, I think this is such a good move. It's going to change everything. It's going to get so many
Not
more
just in
people.
the not just in the stadiums, but I I keep hearing people talking about going down to the local store. I would think it won't even make it to the local store. It's having it in the stadium would be cool, and then you have it right on your phone. Right now. You open it up. All right, I want to bet on the baseball game tonight. Knock yourself out.
Are you going to bet on the baseball game? I still don't see myself suddenly betting on baseball games, but you know what?
But you have the option to do it.
It definitely makes me want to think about it a little bit more. I'm much more appealed to it, especially having Petco just down the road over here in San Diego. And it's an awesome, awesome stadium. Great, great stadium. Really fun time to just hang out there. Not that great of a baseball team, but maybe you put some money down, and now that game, matters a little bit more. There's a little bit more interest there. But while we're on the topic of baseball, and I suppose money, I'm seeing this article right now about how players are wearing these very, very expensive diamond chains and they really don't care about it. There's clearly a risk. And I being a basketball player and I guess a runner in high school and track star, you weren't allowed to wear chains for one, and second you really wouldn't want to. You're risking your health and you're kind of injury risk or injury prone of somebody grabbing it or getting caught on something. But also I see an expense of it of you're wearing something of value that could be damaged. It seems to not affect baseball players quite as much. I find that it's really interesting that they're wearing these large chains and just not really caring if something happens to them.
Well, it's mostly to me that they're diamond chains. Like I can see if you already kind of wear a necklace and that's your thing. For basketball, you really can't. There's just arms and legs and fingers that can easily get caught in that. But for baseball, there's not really much interaction with people, so I guess not that big deal. I don't know how the pitchers do it because it seems like they kind of have it tucked into their shirt, and then you're making that very violent motion towards the plate. It kind of pops out, and just it seems like it'd be distracting. And I think I've mentioned this probably more than once now on the podcast. I'm not really a jewelry guy, so the whole thing is kind of foreign to me.
So no
But
jewelry, no baseball.
one of the things they were talking about in this article was how this guy's diamond chain broke, or his diamond necklace broke, and so then he had to stop his warm up, and he and some players and some grounds crew had to go look around for it. And what it made me think of was when we were in California together, and your necklace came off in the beach, and we had to look for it. And it just seems like a lot of doing that and a lot of just looking around.
It yeah, that wasn't that was a scary day. So I took off a necklace to fill in the story here a little bit. I took off my necklace because I didn't want to go into the wavy water and risk it breaking and falling
Getting
off and
lost.
not getting it at all. So I took it off and I did the dumb thing of basically wrapping it up in my beach towel, thinking nobody's gonna touch this. And it was on top of like a boogie board. So I thought, all right, it's wrapped up in something. It's on top of something that's very stable. We should be okay here. Then one of our other friends who was with us said, "Oh, I want to go boogie boarding," and just grabbed the boogie board, and the towel kind of came undone, and then that fell down right there. to no fault of him or anyone else, but it wasn't until we were about to pack up that we're like, hey, that's right. I did take off my chain and I did put it down right here and it's not here anymore. And we were panicking, just hands all over the place, all over the sand, reaching around at the beach here, trying to find this. And I just about gave up. I think we searched for about a half hour and I did one last dig and grab. And sure enough, I found it. Not fun. But I was truly going to be hurt by the loss of the chain, or even just the fact of it breaking and losing it in that way. I don't know how are these just not as valuable to these players? Does it not matter? I find a
I
significance in
think
a
yeah,
diamond chain.
yeah, I think that's what it is. You got a bunch of money and you just wearing jewelry and not caring about it. There's football players that are wearing the chains that have turned into incidents, but
well,
yeah, I guess you just got a bunch of money.
well, it's kind of. We're going to transition to another topic. I guess it's kind of like jewelry. It's definitely art. It's not a great example of good art, but let's talk about this Brandy Chastain statue. Brandy Chastain, great American soccer player, Olympian, whatever, World Cup winner, all that good stuff. But that's not really not what we're here to talk about. We're here about to talk about this statue that they did in honor of her that does not look like her. One, it doesn't even look like a woman. Two, it doesn't look like her. And I don't know. I don't know how you screw this thing up. This is a public statue. This isn't a privately owned or anything like that. This is something a lot of people are going to see, and it's going to have her name attached to it. Any thoughts on this? Like, what went wrong here? Was this artist or sculptor or whoever made this statue not given the proper photo, or what went wrong?
I'm just surprised because it seems like not that long ago there was the Ronaldo
That was
uh
bad too.
that yeah, exactly, was also you looked at it and you're like that doesn't look right. And so let's just see. I mean, at least there it almost maybe just looked like a goofy version of him. Like if he had a cousin that was like a just goofy guy, like that's what it would look like. Where this, I mean, you're just get. I was just seeing all I think the morning shows were just doing jokes with it and saying, hey, who do you think this is? And just getting a Mike Ditka and like it was just more male. Like, hey, that's who this looks like. It did not look like a female.
So
That seems like a big swing and a miss.
I'm gonna say this with air quotes here. You're not gonna be able to see him, but the artist that designed this is he going unemployed anytime soon? Like this is gonna be a bad one. This is gonna be a bad one for the resume, right? This may be career ending. Can you recover from something
Yeah,
like
that
this?
yeah, that's not good. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I wouldn't feel great about it. I will post it to the podcast website. Make sure you check out the website lcalcb.wordpress.com. There you can see the horrible comparison of these two. And she's a good looking person too, so I think that's even more at fault of not that ugly people are like any easier to design or sculpt or make a painting of, but I think she's easily recognizable and she's not recognizable. You can't even tell the gender of this thing. It's very very upsetting and just disturbing in all honesty. But speaking of some more disturbing news, which one do you want to talk about here? You want to talk about this the woman stalking or the parent suing? Which one do you want to lead with here?
Let's go. Let's start with the stalker.
The stalker. So this woman is accused of stalking after tweeting somebody 65,000 times. 60
Texting him.
Texting him after one date. After one date. So after one date, this person texts or contacts this other person 65,000 times.
Thousand, not 6,500. 65,000.
65,000 times, and now is being accused of stalking. Well, my thing is if you, is there a number like it was 65? Is that the number? Is that the legal number right now? Like if you contact somebody undesirably 65,000 times, suddenly it's stalking. Because if anything, I feel like they went way too far. Like the line for this was way farther back. If anything, the line of this was like 10 times. No, where's the line for stalking in this?
All right, hold on. Let's just do a little math here, which is always tricky. But if this was over a year, so 65,000 divided by 12, that's that's still 5,416 a month. That's like, how is that even possible? Like, you divide that by, say, 30 days in a month, you're looking at like 180 text messages a day. That's a lot.
That's
I
a
don't even know. We talk back and forth a bunch during the day of just kind of like catching up and, hey, here's topics, here's stuff for the pod, and hey, what do you think's gonna happen in the game tonight, kind of deal. And I don't think it's anywhere near that. And I think that's a two-way communication. If you counted both of ours, I don't know if I text that much, like with all the people I talk to.
it's a lot.
Like,
It's
what
an
do you even say?
well, that's what I want to know. Is there any information on the details of these messages? Like, are these just automated messages that he's just basically programmed to send out? Also, I
I
imagine
don't.
the messages couldn't have been that threatening or that harmful if you allowed 65,000 of them to suddenly be received without any. I assume there was no response to this. Like, I think if you just respond one time or even a couple of times to somebody like this, they may get the message. It's the lack of response that I think motivates you to continue to do it. No, maybe I'm wrong.
Well, no, and I don't know exactly when this came in, but just looking at the article, there were some along the lines of, "Don't ever try to leave me. I'll kill you. I don't want to be a murderer." And what I would do with your blood. I'd want to bathe in it. So
All right, yeah. So
that might have set off some.
these are a little threatening and strange sounding. I would not respond to any of those. I completely understand that. It's definitely a context of a of of a threat and misfortune. Uh, but you would think of somebody who's motivated enough to organize their time to send 65,000 tweets or contacts or texts or whatever it is. Uh, you could use that sort of motivation and that dedication towards something way more beneficial. Like, if you have the time to send out that many messages, don't you have the time to send messages to other people just randomly? Just Tinder, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, anything. Couldn't this I don't even know what to call it. It's not really a skill. It's more of a time
It's
dedication.
yeah, I was saying, it's dedication. There's a passion there.
Couldn't this passion be utilized elsewhere?
Hey man, she thought she found love.
Wait, she? I thought it was a guy texting the girl. This is a woman texting a guy?
Yeah.
I suppose that really doesn't change it too much. I just, in my head, I had it going the other way around. Some creepy guy. That's a creepy girl.
Nope. Yep.
Oh, man.
Yep. So she's in prison.
Yeah,
So
that'll.
I don't know what she's doing with all this free time now.
I don't know. I wonder, do you think she was texting anybody else? Was it
Oh man. Oh, I didn't even think of that.
this couldn't have been the only one, right? Or this might have not been the first time. I wonder who else like kind of fell into this category of, oh no, you're gonna get a message every day from me.
Oof. Yeah, I don't know about that one.
All right.
That's a rough one.
Well, hopefully nobody ever tweets or texts you to that degree. That sounds so annoying, especially in 2018 where you're so reliant on your phone and you have your phone on you pretty much all the time. You use it for all your information, all your communication, everything. And could you just imagine ignoring 65,000 messages?
Yeah, that's gonna be a tough one. I don't know if there's just at a certain point where he's like, this is just getting crazy. Like you just get a new number and then you just have this other one. You're just like, I want to see how this plays out. Like 100, what was it, 180 a day? Like, I just got to see where this goes.
All right. So now that we know a little bit more about it, I opened up saying, what do you think the number is where you can suddenly get a stalking kind of a qualification? I'll say 65,000 seems excessive to me. Is 1,000 fair? Is 500 fair? I
What? Are
personally
you kidding me?
I think 10.
10.
10 is
10 in a row.
10 is good, right? Man, that's
I wouldn't text somebody 10. I wouldn't text somebody 10 times in a row. That'd be without a response.
It's crazy. That's just crazy. It's so much time. So much time. Well, I don't know if I do you feel more do you feel worse for this woman or the son that is being sued by his parents for not moving out of the house? Who's more at fault here? Who do you
Well, I'm thinking that there's in both cases there's probably more going on, and there might be some mental health issues, unfortunately. So I don't make too many jokes. Uh, but yes, there's a 30-year-old man that he's just really not getting the message. His parents told him, "Hey, we really want you out of the house." He has just said no, he's not going to do it. They even offered to help. Hey, we'll help you search for a house. We'll help you. I think they were even willing to put like in the neighborhood of like $1,000 towards helping you move. And he refused to get a job, and he refused to move out. So they had to take it to court. And today, the judge ruled that he has to move out.
has to move out? I couldn't the parents just like sell the house or move out or do something else?
It's their house. Why would they want to do that?
I don't know. This could
I
have
don't
been
know why he wants to stay there if they don't want to be there. Can you imagine trying to live somewhere where people didn't want you there? That just sounds awful.
yeah yeah.
That sounds like some crappy like freshman year in college where it just like it's just not working out, and it's just like this is just so uncomfortable because like Craig and Leo just do not get along.
The thing is, the drama never goes away. It's constantly there. And I feel like you would be if you've ever had a roommate you struggle to get along with. You're constantly on edge. At least in the
Yeah,
scenarios I've
it's
been,
so stress. It's
you,
gotta be super stressful.
it's not just the stress; it's more of the preparedness. You're so defensive of everything. You're constantly ready for war or some sort of conflict to
Yeah, for a
happen,
fight. Yeah,
and you're just waiting for it. You have a hard time interacting with anybody. There's nothing productive ever done. It's just a huge waste of time, which is why, exactly like you said, I don't know why you would want to stay, especially being unwanted, and the conflicts have to add up. Those will wear on you. It's just not a fun situation to be in. Uh,
well, and just think how bad it is that you had to bring it to the courts. Like now, this is in public. Now it's not just maybe some close family members know that hey, we're having a difficult time with this. It's no now two knuckleheads with a podcast are talking about it about your family. This is like very much a personal family matter that is just out there for all the public, and it's a joke. And oof, that's it's another rough one.
hey, maybe it's for the best. Maybe this is what this guy needed. All right, little kick in the pants here, a little motivation, little
I
get
don't
out of
think
the
so.
house.
The article I read ended with he plans to appeal the decision
Oh my god. Again,
because
this
he
is
looks at it as if it's like it's a landlord situation of I don't have enough. I'm not getting enough notice to move out.
that's so unreal. Oh, I love my family, and we'll have our fights and our bickering, but we never had anything. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine to have a disagreement this strong, especially a living situation. It's so dire. It's critical that you have somewhere to live every day.
Yeah,
um,
yeah. Maybe he like really likes his mom's cooking, and that's what it is. Like maybe she's just like
stop
like
cooking.
really good. Yeah, maybe that's
Well, all right. Well, if
I don't
you
know.
want
Maybe
to,
she did stop, and maybe that's why he's mad. I don't know. I don't
well,
know. There's so many questions.
all right. Well, just bear with me the story here. All right. If he wants to treat them like a landlord, you have a landlord. I have a landlord. I don't live with my landlord. You actually live with the landlord. He lives in the house with you. But with that being said, he doesn't cook you dinner every night. That's not a responsibility of the landlord. I
No,
could
no.
that's not how this works at all. So if he wants to go in the direction of fighting this
It's
and
not how any of
appealing
this
this,
works.
of saying, "Oh, it's like a landlord. You got to give me more notice." It's like, well, no, that's not a landlord relationship we have here. It's a father son, mother daughter, or whoever it is. It's a son family. It's
It's a
not
family, yeah.
it's not that. So I have a hard time thinking he'll win the appeal here. Either way, two kind of sad stories, and we're going to transition to probably the most disgusting of the stories, as disturbing as those two are. I saw this video, and I'm still not even sure really what happened here. A disgruntled customer got into an argument with somebody at what was it, like a coffee shop or something like that? I don't know, a donut place.
Yeah, it looked like a cafe. Yeah, a woman was upset.
So upset that this person decides to pull down their pants while in line right in front of the register right there at the cafe, and just drops a number two on point, like right that second on cue. Apparently, you can do that. I find a hard time believing I could just do that instantly like this. So poops right there, and then picks this up and throws it at the employee. I don't even know where to begin with this. This doesn't even seem real. This seems like a staged story that's the only way it could happen in my world. I don't know how somebody could poop on cue like that and then pick it up and throw it like.
Oh, so you're thinking this is gonna come out in like a few weeks, and it's on, Nathan For You or one of those like hidden camera shows.
Wow, I think so. I mean, there's definitely no fun in having poop thrown at you, but there can't be any. It's just as bad, I think, as picking it up and throwing it, right? And
No, it's worse.
it's worse. Picking it up and throwing it is worse.
Oh no, I thought you meant as the employee.
I'm just saying it definitely sucks to have something thrown at you, but it has to suck just as much to pick it up and throw it. That's just it seems just as suffering.
No, I think that as the employee, it would be really sucky to have to clean up somebody's poop, but it's worse to have that poop thrown at you. That's what I was going with.
Yeah, I don't know if it's as bad. It is bad. It is worse, but it's still pretty bad for the person who threw it, though. Or that's disgusting for them as well. I don't know if I could overcome that. And as well as it makes me. It doesn't make it any better that it's your own. I don't. I think I saw some comment on this video being like, "Well, it's their own. It's fine." And no.
Wait, what?
It's not fine.
What?
It doesn't make it better. I mean. If you were to pick up and throw poop, would you rather it be yours or someone else's? It doesn't matter. That doesn't make any difference.
Have you ever been half that mad in your life?
No, no. No.
That's what I mean. Like not even like that mad, half that mad.
No. That's why I think this has to be fake. I don't.
Like, there's just no way you could be that upset in a cafe.
I don't think that's what I would do if I was ever that upset. The maddest I could ever be. I don't think that would ever cross my
I would
mind
be storming
as a.
out.
Yeah, I wouldn't be just pulling my pants
It'd
down.
be storming out and never going back there again and being real petty about it. That's kind of more my route.
Man, I didn't read the entire article here. Do you have any idea what went wrong? What was upsetting to this?
No idea.
Because everything I read just said it was a disgruntled person. They were upset. They got into an argument, and that was it. I had no idea the context of the argument. But
No, I saw the video. I watched it once. It's kind of a long video, and not really knowing what was gonna happen, and then immediately went, ugh, that was gross. Yeah, Will's got to know about this, and I sent it to you.
Oh man, yeah, no, it's disgusting. Out of the three stories, I think that one's by far the most disgusting. You know,
Easily.
yeah. Even texting somebody 65,000 times is excessive and obviously stalking and threatening and blah 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 and all that. This is so disgusting and so bizarre on a whole nother level. But
Super bizarre.
Speaking of throwing, we're going to transition back into sports here. Ron Artest, Meta World Peace, aka I don't know, I suppose that's his full name now, but he was Ron Artest during the time of this story. So, former NBA basketball player says when he was in college, he was offered $35,000 to throw a college basketball game. I 100% believe this, and I don't know. Obviously, he's a retired player, and this is so long ago that I don't think it has any ground to stand on legally. But I'll ask you, $35,000. You know, think about it. This was a couple of years ago. This is what, like 20 years ago, if not more, of Ron Artest. $35,000 is a lot more money back then. than it is right now. And you're in college. That's a lot of money. Are you throwing the game? You taking the money? You got some integrity.
Um, was Ron Artest good enough in college to be able to throw the game?
I don't know. Ron Artest seems strong enough and probably scary enough to encourage teammates to make the decisions he'd be interested in. I could see him forcing decisions like that. Ron Artest is a
I'm
tough
just
guy.
surprised that this sort of news doesn't crop up more often. Like, I'm not surprised that almost every NBA player hasn't come out with "I was told I was offered this," just because you're not getting paid any money.
I would like to hear the
So
other stories because I imagine other guys probably got more money. Like Ron Artest was a great player and a very very solid NBA career. Won some championships. Really really tough guy. Obviously has the malice and the palace kind of on the resume, which makes him a little bit more unique of a character. Uh, but I imagine other guys that were better players than him getting offered a lot more money. I would love to hear more of these stories come out just to see how much money they were willing to throw at these games. I also think it's funny that now we opened up the podcast talking about how, hey, gambling's legal, gambling's legal. And here we're hearing about this from 25 years ago about this story $35,000 to throw a game. Maybe
well,
we.
and that's where I think that if it's right now, it's all kind of under wraps. Where if it was out in the open, then there would be a way to track. All of a sudden, the line moves. It's not, well, this happened at a kind of seedy underground thing that mainstream's not paying attention to. I mean, it'd be all over the news, and there'd be an investigation, and it would be figured out if this what happened. And I think it'd be caught immediately.
So let me ask you: would you throw the game for $35,000? And if you say no, is there a number?
I don't know. I don't think for 35,000, but there's definitely a number. There's a number for everybody, right?
I imagine it's such a case
Because
by
you,
case
you
thing.
you say it says throw the game. So does that mean losing it, or does that just mean point shaving? Because point shaving, your team could still you wouldn't be, hey, you have to lose this game. It's, hey, you can only win by this much. So it's not even like you hurt your team.
Yeah, that sounds that sounds just as bad. But
And I feel like these situations is never, it's not about the money. I don't know. I watch movies. It's like they got stuck like in a bad situation, or there's blackmail involved.
all right, so no to 35,000. I just think I would probably consider it at that time. It's a different time, and this is a different point in my life. It's a different point in culture. I could probably get away with it then. I don't think you can get away with it now. I find it. I think it'd be just as much harder now, don't you think? With social media alone.
Well, yeah, yeah. There's a paper trail because the guy texted you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. uh, but interesting story. I look forward to maybe seeing other people come out and speak up on just crazy
I don't. I
opportunities.
don't. I don't think they will.
Do you think this is even true then?
Oh, I believe it. Meta World Peace is just a guy that's out there, and like he's got no reason to lie about it. I mean, I don't think he's like trying to look for attention. It's just like, hey, yeah, this happened.
Yeah. Well.
He's got a bunch of crazy stories.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind seeing a 10-hour documentary on him as well. But for those of you that don't know, Netflix and ESPN have also announced that they're going to do a 10-hour Michael Jordan documentary series. And I'm kind of excited for this. I'm just the 10-hour label seems like a lot. The 10 hours seems like way too much. A 2 hour would be great. I'm a big fan of the ESPN 30 for 30s. I think they did a great job. I thought Bill Simmons did a better job with some of the older original ones. Um, but yeah, I'm probably gonna watch it. I'm a huge Michael Jordan fan. I think he's got stories on stories. I think other players around him. I still think there's something fascinating about his success as well as some of his personal life, whether it's the gambling or the baseball or his workout routines or some of his trash talking. I'm hopeful that that's what this 10 hours will include, but I really don't know. I don't know if this is going to be 10 hours of stories that we've already heard and already know, just being told in a
Well, that's
collective.
what when I first heard about it was thinking was okay about Michael Jordan. Okay, there's been a ton of books written about it. There's already a bunch of documentaries. I feel like it was not too long ago they did the another Celtics Lakers in the 80s rivalry where it's like we've just done this. We kind of know the beats to it, but as I went a little deeper into it, I guess they got a bunch of footage from from the 90s that has never been released, and I also heard that Jordan has signed on to do this documentary, so there will be stuff from the 90s as well as stuff currently today. So I think that could make things more interesting. But I definitely agree with you. Of are we going to get new stories? Is this going to be interesting, or is this going to be the kind of the same beats, the same? Hey, he was really good at basketball. He gambled.
The,
He
the,
saved he saved all the Looney Tunes. You know what are we doing?
the stories are great. Like I'm not gonna say they're bad stories. I just want to hear new ones. I want to see
Mm-hmm.
video of that. I want to see that Dream Team scrimmage game. I know there's film of that somewhere. I want to see that. Can we get that?
Yeah.
I want to see that kind of stuff. And as well as I'm sure there's a ton of more trash talking stories I would love to hear. There's a video of Jordan and Matumbo. It's I can't remember what year it is, but it's All Star Weekend. They're playing on the same team, and Matumbo's telling Jordan like, "You've never dunked on me," blah blah blah, all of this. And I think like Ewing is there, and he's like, "Oh, he's dunked on me," and he's dunked on basically everyone else in the locker room, except for
Yep.
Matumbo. And the interesting thing about it is then they play later down the road, and Jordan's like, "Don't worry, I'm gonna get you." And like the first game they play after the All Star game, he dunks right on him, just goes right over the baseline. uh, and I just think that that's a kind of a cool story. I want more stuff like that. I want more of the, he wasn't that good of a 3-point shooter, but then he hit like 8 in a row in that playoff game against Portland or whatever. I want that kind of stuff, and
Well, I
hopefully we'll
definitely
get it.
trust ESPN and Netflix getting together on something
I,
because the ESPN knows sports and Netflix knows how to do TV. So
it'll It'll be interesting. Is this the first time ESPN and Netflix have partnered up? Now, I knew that Netflix had bought the right to show the 30 for 30, and they have, like, I think they have all of them on Netflix right now. I knew that was a big
ooh,
deal.
that might not be. They did at one point. I think with the ESPN Plus. I don't know if that has run out yet, but I would imagine that's where that's all moving to.
Yeah. Uh, so is this, I don't know. I just have more questions about it. I think the Netflix partnership makes it interesting. I don't know if it's going to go straight to Netflix or if it's just going to be part by part on ESPN and then eventually find its way onto Netflix. But it's a good partnership nonetheless. It should be a solid topic. If it stands up to the standard of the other 30 for 30s, I think it'll be a great documentary. Do you think 10 hours is too long? Is there too much Michael Jordan? Is there such thing?
It's a lot, but you know, it's directed by oof, by Jason, and then the last name here, I think, and he directed the Fab Five, the '85 Bears, and Andre the Giant. So those are
Yeah, those are some of the premier ones.
some of the
Yeah,
yeah.
those are good ones. Those are ones. If somebody was going to do it, I'd trust that guy to do it because those were all really well done. The Fab Five was great. I didn't see the Andre 3000, the Andre the Giant one. But you said you saw that one, right? You said it was great.
Yep, I liked it.
Yeah, good stuff. I'm
Yep,
probably
really
gonna.
cool, and I'm not really a wrestling guy.
I'll probably catch that one on the plane. I'll probably download that for the plane ride over the weekend
That's a
here.
good one. Yep, that'll keep you going. Another suggestion for you, kind of wrapped in all of this. ESPN's doing 30 for 30 podcasts now. So there was just it was, I don't remember, it was four, five, six episodes. It was about Bikram yoga. And I had heard of Bikram yoga before, but had no idea about how it started, where it started, anything about it, and learned a lot about that today. So I would recommend that as well if you're looking to maybe rest your eyes a little bit, or for when you're walking through the airport and you're not actually being able to look at your screen, and for you and for all the listeners.
So how does that work then? It's just a 30 for 30 podcast. Like it's
It,
just it's
yep.
rather than the visuals of it. They tell you stories and stuff about that vocally. I guess.
Yeah. It's an audio documentary.
Nice. I guess I don't know. I guess a lot of the highlights and the visuals definitely make it better, but most of it is just interviews and you know camera pointed recording the audio. I suppose the visual is not as essential for some of these, especially the interview based ones. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I think 10 hours is way too much, but we'll see. If they're able to keep, I'm gonna watch it, and I'll be able to tell you at the end of those 10 hours whether that was something I regret doing or not. I will make sure to keep everyone on the podcast tuned in for that. Speaking of ESPN, they also managed to buy a pretty successful company. Some of you may have heard of this. The UFC. They bought a 5-year contract for $1.5 billion. That's big news for me. I think this is huge. This is a good move for ESPN. I think UFC is still on the rise. I know some of the names of the past aren't fighting anymore, whether it's the Ronda Rousey or the McGregor. But I think this concept in this league and this sport has proven to be successful over the past years because they've had other big names before that, whether it's John Bone Jones or the Chuck Liddell. All these guys are big names, and they managed to find bigger names time and time again. So I think that's a great investment. I wouldn't say I watch every single fight, but maybe if they were on ESPN, I'd watch more of them. What do you think?
So it's a little bit of a mixed bag. So the deal gets them 30 UFC fight nights. Now, 10 of them are going to be on regular ESPN, but 20 of them are going to be on ESPN Plus. So this is definitely going to be an effort to push this towards, hey,
Oh,
come by
boo.
ESPN Plus. Also, what
Boo.
you're not going to like so much is, let me check. ESPN networks were air preliminary bouts prior to 12 pay-per-view events in 2019. So they're still not getting the events. They're getting it's kind of like what was on Fox before. And so you watch Fox, and then they'd hype up these guys that are gonna fight, and then you got to go switch over to pay-per-view.
Oh man. See that just and they managed to pay $1.5 billion for that. Because if anything, it's kind of like
Yeah.
you got to show the warm ups. Now you got to show the shoot around before the stuff you really want to see happens.
Well, see, I
The
wasn't.
batting
I didn't think
practice.
of it as the shoot around. I thought of it more as you get AAA baseball. You don't get the major league.
Man, Well, all right. So just think of the
You,
along the
you get
lines of
you
that.
get to see you
They,
get to see these guys when they're like young and they're coming up, but then as soon as they make it to the big time, then that's when you gotta start paying money for it.
I just think $1.5 billion for AAA baseball equivalent.
I mean, maybe it's not the best analogy. I think what does help. I agree with you that it's similar to college basketball, where in the wintertime, you just turn on ESPN and there's gonna be college basketball on. There's bars. Just ESPN's gonna be on. So now you are gonna have UFC be showing to people that might not necessarily have been totally watching it because like, oh, there's UFC on. Like, I don't know, but it's like, oh, what's on ESPN tonight? Oh, UFC. Okay, yeah, I'll watch it.
Yeah. Maybe this is the only hope I have, and this may be the case for other people. I've found the times that I have paid for the pay per view, the fights leading up to the actual headlining fight were a lot better than the headlining fight itself. So maybe,
Mm-hmm.
just maybe, we will get lucky and see better fights, maybe with not the bigger names, on ESPN. This whole ESPN Plus thing, I I recognize it. I understand why they're doing it, and I think it all makes sense. but I don't think they've really added anything that's forcing people to really get tuned into it. I don't think they have nearly enough stuff. It just seems like such extra bonus stuff to such a small niche market of people that I don't know what it's going to take to really drive people to have to get this. Because this Kobe Bryant detail thing, the him doing the play by play, like watching film and telling people like
Yeah, yeah,
that's
the
not a big
John Gruden.
that's not a big enough push. That's not a big enough push to force somebody to do it. And this is kind of exclusive UFC stuff. I don't know if that'll be a big enough push, especially where that probably won't even get you the pay per view fight. You'll probably still have to pay additional money elsewhere to watch the main fights. So I don't know. I see
But
ESPN throwing a lot of money at this ESPN Plus stuff. I don't know if I see it having any success.
here's where I think that it could work is you start off with, like you said, this niche stuff. But this is kind of how Netflix started. Of hey, we got like a bunch of movies that you've heard of, and you like it. Like they got 30 for 30 on there. Boom. All right, that's where I get my 30 for 30. And then they just kind of slowly add stuff until you get to the point of, ooh, maybe this is even 5 years down the line, but once a week there's an exclusive NBA game that's on there, and it's a slow transition to, like, right now you're like, there's nothing really good on there, and then all of a sudden, well, there's some good, like they got UFC, like that's kind of interesting, and then, well, now they got they got the Big East basketball on there. It just maybe just it's a slow transition over, and then before you know it, you're like, yeah, I have to buy this now.
I'm worried about that. It's gonna happen. I think there will be a time or a point in the near future where something I had planned on watching on regular old ESPN or ESPN2 or ESPN News or some sort of ESPN affiliate, and I can't get it, and I have to get this stupid ESPN Plus subscription. We talked about earlier how change is hard. I think this just applies to that. I'm sure the adjustment of Netflix and all of that was difficult to begin with, of being, why am I going to pay these guys to mail me movies? I can just go get a rental movie down the road. Why do I have to pay a subscription service? What if I don't watch any movies this month, or if I watch 10 this month? But obviously that model proved beneficial once it went online and streaming and all of that. And I suppose there's money in all streaming content. Look at YouTube, Hulu, Netflix, HBO Go, Amazon Prime. They seem to be doing just fine, so I don't see why ESPN would struggle with it. I won't be very happy if I become a customer. I will say that's whatever $5-6 a month. I wish I was not spending towards that. But if they force me to do it, I probably will do it if I have to. If I see an event or some sort of something on there that catches my eye, it's just another investment, another money grab. But let's see. How are we going to get out of this? How are we going to get a money grab? What am I going to transition into here? We're talking about hay bathing or sleep vacations, or how about this? Judge orders a teen who started a fire to pay, what is it, $36 million, something ridiculous like that. I read this story, and I don't know whether I was supposed to sympathize with this at all. Clearly, this person, from my understanding, is at fault. If you're at fault, there's a consequence for that, and the consequence of that is a large sum of money being owed for your fault. Am I following this correctly, or did I miss something here? Because I don't really see the big deal. I think if you screw something up, if you start a large enough fire and it has enough of a consequence, you gotta pay for it. You can't just make mistakes and say, whatever. There's a price to pay.
So it was a 15-year-old that lit off some fireworks. That's what started the fire. So yes, he lit off fireworks. Yes, they started a fire. But how are you expecting to get a 15-year-old to pay you $36 million?
I agree that it's outrageous and that there's no way that person will ever see that money in. Nobody will ever receive that in full payment. That's impossible. That will never happen. So perhaps the judge made a really poor choice in making that the consequence, and not like hours and hours of community service or having this person work back for the money or some sort of better way rather than just saying this is your tab and you're gonna pay it and you'll never actually be able to pay it. So nobody's ever happy with this result. Is what I'm envisioning, especially at the age of 15. You don't own anything. You have no assets. You probably don't even have any credit. So what?
So what they did do is say that the kid can put up he can do a payment plan, and that this is only through 10 years. So when he's 25, he's off the hook. But it just seems like you're really penalizing this guy, this kid for lighting off some fireworks, and you're also super not motivating him. Like, why would he work if he's gonna have to give all his money?
Yeah.
Like, you might as well stay in school. Is he gonna be the next 30-year-old that his parents are suing him to get out of the house because he's just, well, I'm not gonna leave the house. I don't have any money. I don't have a job. Why don't you have a job? Well, if I get a job, I have to give my money to to this lawsuit. It just seems like it's just gonna sap all this kid's willpower.
No, let me ask you this: is this it's basically a negative across his name of any money or any profit he managed to somehow acquire, uh, just immediately gets paid back into this minus. Um, what's the difference between owing a lot of money and owing a really lot of money? Like if I was him, I would just max out a whole bunch of credit cards and just go with it. You're never gonna be able to pay it off anyways.
Whoa! Why would you max out credit cards? Then after 10 years, you're still gonna have to owe the credit card companies.
Well,
That's not how that works.
he's not gonna have.
It
Yeah.
doesn't get rid of all of your debt.
Oh well, you this whole debt is gonna disappear in 10 years.
Just the fire one, not if he creates more debt for himself.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood that. I didn't realize that this was actually going to go away. I assumed that he would just be a lifetime of paying back of this and making
No,
$36 million in a lifetime.
Get on payment plan, and then after 10 years, he can be off the hook.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. And yes, and don't go max out your credit cards. But I was just thinking, there's a very slim chance you'll actually make $36 million in your lifetime. And I'm not saying this kid can't do it. I'm just saying I wouldn't bet on it, especially with the lack of motivation here. That I would just keep going to the negative, like just live your life and then start enjoying it. What's the difference? What are they going to come after you for? He has nothing.
Yeah, his lawyer was saying, this is an absurd amount. The largest figure that they could find for a prior juvenile restitution case in Oregon was $114,000. So this is quite a hop, skip, and a jump up.
Wow, that's so much money. That's so much money. Well, I don't. I suppose I sympathize with this. All right, it is a mistake, but it is also something that needs to be maybe talked about more. Firework awareness here. All right, isn't there? There's a story somewhere. There's a kid with no hand right now. You got to pay attention to this stuff. You got to be careful with fireworks.
Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, sure. Yeah, you gotta be careful. But
so what do you think?
$36 million?
I agree. It was a bad punishment. I think this kid would get this lesson much more if you forced him to go to like fire training or whatever, or some sort of have him write it down on the board a million times. He's not gonna forget it then. I think this was the worst way to punish him because he doesn't have any of this, and it truly, really doesn't affect him. It's just basically like, hey, man, you're not going to work for 10 years. You're not going to have any money. You're not going to progress probably at all in life at all.
He's gonna be looking for cheap fun, and like you said, what's the difference between a number and a bigger number? I'll ask you, what's the difference between a bigger number and an even bigger number? He's probably gonna go light off more fireworks for something fun to do.
Yes, so I see the outrage in this now that we've talked more about this. All right, the outrage is that this is a terrible punishment. This kid's not going to learn anything from this. Nobody's going to get any of their money paid back. And all in all, it sounds like everyone's going to be upset. All right, the kid's going to be upset. Whoever property you destroy is going to be upset because they're not going to get anything near the compensation they're deserved. And it just seems so unrelated to everything. This is a bad fix. This judge did not do anything. This is not justice. Nobody's happy with this result. And nobody will ever be happy with this. There's no way. So I suppose that is the outrage of the story. Um,
I'm outraged.
what
It's outrage
all right.
culture.
What's a fair punishment then? Can we come up with something on this, or are we gonna have to ask the listeners? The listeners, if those of you that listen to the podcast, go to the website lcalcb.wordpress.com. Put a comment. What do you think a fair punishment would be? If we're gonna have this kid go to, community service, or you're gonna have him, maybe intern at a fire department and have him, mop the floors or some sort of punishment silly like that. There's got to be something more embarrassing that'll truly actually get the message that what he did was not okay, and you can't do that again. And this is why. I don't. The other thing is, I don't think that deterred any other kid who's reading this article from saying, "Hey, I shouldn't play with fireworks," or what, or what's gonna happen? Are you gonna owe $36 million and not have to work for 10 years?
Well, fireworks are fun to play with. They're dangerous, but how often does it lead to 37 million dollars in damage? This seems like a very unique event. And do you not think that him realizing he caused that much damage is not like that's not like, hey, maybe I should be more careful.
All right, so let me ask you: do you think this kid learned his lesson? Do you think he's truly sorry? Is this a regrettable
Yes.
thing? He truly regrets this.
Yeah.
This isn't like a hidden blessing somewhere in here of because he's basically not gonna have to work for 10 years, from my understanding.
I mean, I don't know what his plan is. Maybe he's a way better person than I am, and he's on the other side of this going, how can I make $100 million?
Yeah. You know what's gonna be so crazy?
Maybe he takes gonna take some big swings.
More power to somebody who's willing to take a big swing like that, because people in everyday life without some sort of fault or some sort of drama like this, some sort of influence of a negative like this, are not motivated enough to earn $100 million or anything near that. $100,000 is a lot of money for most people. So, even if he does do that, though, don't you think there's got to be something inside of him being like, "Look, I just worked my ass off for $100 million, and I'm nowhere near being able to pay this off."
Well, no, if you made
I mean, $100,000. Sorry.
Well, yeah, but yeah, like you said, it's still like, yeah, and that's why I feel like it's such a wide range. If it was a lower number, you could see him trying to figure something out, but with the number being that big, it's just it's a big number.
Yeah, it's a big number. Well, the other big number is the amount of listeners we are averaging every week. It is growing. The podcast is on the grow. We're on the up. We're probably going to do another podcast, maybe in person this weekend. I'm going to be traveling back to the East Coast. Check out the family for Memorial Day. Do a little barbecuing out there. With that being said, make sure you check out the website, lcalcb.wordpress.com. Check out Zach's Twitter, which his handle is
WickedZman24.
Also, check out soldbywill.com for all your San Diego real estate needs. We have an awesome listing in downtown right now, overlooks Petco Park. We just had a big price reduction. You can check out soldbywill.com for all the details there. Check out the video tour, as well as we just went Facebook Live today. Definitely check out Instagram for plenty of dog pictures. Sold by Will is also the tag for that. Good to be back. Fun podcast. Hopefully we get to a regular schedule. Anything you want to throw out there?
No more tornadoes.
No more tornadoes. That's a good one. I can close out the podcast with that, right?
Yeah, no more tornadoes, and then we'll be on a regular schedule.
I think if you just move out to the West Coast, you won't have to worry about any natural disasters ever again.
Isn't there a volcano happening that's gonna send a tsunami right at you?
It sounds theoretically
Yeah, I'm staying
correct.
over here. That's it. I'm staying over here where it's safe. I don't want to get hit with a tsunami.
I imagine, not that a tsunami isn't a big deal, but I imagine the amount of snowstorms you put up with every year have to combine to add up to one tsunami. Probably not. It's probably more.
I don't think so. We got a plan for snow. There's no plan for tsunami. I saw all the videos from Japan. It wipes everything out.
Well, anyways, we'll be back hopefully this weekend, maybe with some more update. Let's go Celtics. I know we didn't talk about them, but we will be back with that. More conversations next week. And thank you as always for listening. Anything to add?
Go Seas.
Go Celtics.